Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another episode of Perceptive Learning Zone. And today we will be talking about 13 big risks that sort of take place when CEOs give their executive team too much power. So, as we discussed previously, the role of a chief executive officer is often perceived as the pinnacle of power and decision making. However, some leaders they end up relinquishing a significant amount of authority to their executive management teams by dialing it in, and hence they delegate more of their own tasks to such people. So, while delegation is a cornerstone of effective leadership, when taken to extremes, it can also create leadership pitfalls. Um, 13 Forbes Coaches Council members, they discuss nuanced risks associated with CEOs abdicating too much control. So first of all, Dr. John Blakey from the Trusted Executive says that there is a big difference between effective delegation and reckless abdication. The CEO is a conductor who must orchestrate the leadership team to clarify purpose, and coordinate diverse talent. This is a proactive, engaged activity, not a passive backseat affair. And CEOs who forget this risk, they create a vacuum in which chaos and confusion they fester and the team spirit it ebbs away. Then Barbara Ann Mills from Fair Solutions and Evolution says that when a CEO dials it in, the executive management team will likely follow suit, and so will their teams, right? And being a leader, it includes modeling the behavior you expect from those you lead. So, if a leader who is not authentically and actively engaged ends up giving power to the executive management team, the outcome will likely be a disengaged team. It will lead to a breakdown in communication, not to mention a loss of morale as well as productivity. Also, internal politics, thirdly, I feel can negatively impact decision making. The CEO has the important role of setting the tone for the organization's strategic plan, culture, and values across the enterprise. So, power, it should be shared, whether it's appropriate checks and balances in place. But at the end of the day, the responsibility it lies with the chief executive officer. It is also important to mitigate the impact of internal politics and ensure that the decisions being made are right for the organization. Fourthly, when CEOs give their teams too much power, the team will not function at its full potential. We know that too many cooks they spoil the broth, my dear ladies and gentlemen. So you have to delegate, not abdicate. One of the biggest risks is that your team will not function maximally. It will not perform optimally, as there won't be a decision maker to help break through linchpin decisions and the expected conflicts that come with change. So, with absentee leadership, team members often start phoning in themselves, and there isn't a key leader to hold talent accountable and inspire them to greatness either. Also, what happens when you delegate too much power is that positive accountability as well as ownership can wane. Positive accountability and ownership wanes because you see, when you think about the results, the team is responsible for delivering. There needs to be a balance of empowerment, of measurement, of reflection. So, as the CEO, you have to ensure that you are consistently present in discussions around how the team is performing so that you stay curious and you assist the team in achieving long term success. Also, there's a saying of Jody Charlotte from Acceleration Partners that she actually recalls what Plato once said that the measure of a man or a woman is what he or she does with power. And this is never truer than with executive teams. So a CEO must know who is on the team, how they operate, and how they handle their power. If you have a strong, high trust team with a unified vision and strategy, well, amazing things happen when power is shared. That said, few CEOs we feel have their own healthy relationship with power. Also, insufficient trust can lead to poor results. A key aspect of good leadership, my dear folks, is trust. So, empowering the executive team, it shows trust in their integrity and abilities. When this is done in an environment of open communication, when regular feedback is given regarding expectations and progress, it lowers the risks. However, when there is insufficient trust, such as when information is not shared openly and candidly, it can lead to poor results. Also, strategic direction can be lost and innovation can suffer when you delegate too much power, my dear students. So, when a CEO dials it in, the risks include a loss of strategic direction, a decreased level of innovation. You got communication gaps, not to mention potential conflicts among leaders, which can harm organizational performance and long term success. It may lead to a lack of accountability. It could induce complacency among executives, as well as a disconnect between leadership and the broader workforce. Also, it can, I would say, delegating too much power to your teammates, it can detract from the CEO's impact as a leader. Empowering, I would say, empowering direct reports meticulously, crafting a robust succession plan, they are signs of successful leadership. So the challenge, it lies in striking the balance, and undue focus on either, it may cast aspersions as a leader's genuine commitment to act in the best interests of the organization. And as this negative culture percolates, it reverberates throughout the team, it creates doubt and ruins the level of synergy that should be ideally attained at a particular workplace. Also, when we delegate too much power, we have to keep in mind that senior leadership talent may be lost. So the risk depends on the business context, the levels and the types of authority delegated, and the readiness of the executive management team. The biggest risk is associated with not planning for succession failure. If the executive team, it fails to deliver on the business mandate and the failure is not tolerated by the shareholders, the situation can lead to fractures and the loss of senior leadership talent. Also, when you delegate too much power, fellas, there is mismanagement and leniency and corruption can occur, goes without saying. When the executive team has unchecked agency in terms of its alignment with strategic goals and objectives, that's when it's possible that these negative forces can come into the equation. So, for a CEO, I would say delegating power is not the issue. It's about how you ensure that checks and balances sorry, it's about how you ensure that checks and balances remain in place so that any deviation is identified and addressed appropriately. Also, delegating too much power means that your strategy, your mission, your goals, they may suffer from a lack of alignment, from a lack of strategic direction. So, without active CEO involvement, the organization may drift away from its true purpose. It can lead to a lack of accountability as well as power struggles within the leadership team and a complete and utter disconnect between upper management and the rest of the organization. And last but not the least, we have to understand and to conclude that the morale can suffer as conflicts of interest increase. So, delegating excess power can lead to accountability issues. It can lead to decision-making bottlenecks. It will lead to decreased employee morale. And for organizational success, to quote Carrie and you from Conscious Ignite, effective leadership requires finding a balance between delegation as well as active involvement. That's all for now, fellas. In the next video, we'll be talking about broken pedestals and exploring the dark sides of 10 popular CEOs. So please stay tuned and don't hesitate to like, share, and subscribe. We'll be back with much more, creative content. Thank you very much. Have a nice weekend and God bless you. Assalamu alaikum.